Our pleasure to spend the next 10 or so minutes of that half hour with Billy Embody of On3.com. Billy, how are you?
Doing well, guys. How are you?
Doing very well. First of all, tell us about On3.
Man, On3 is from the founder, Shannon Terry, of Rivals in 24/7, and it's kind of his last venture in a way. So he has coined it. And really, it's a great message board community, really clean message board that people can chat on. It's also that same, similar database that a lot of people are fond of as far as recruiting goes. But we've also added an NIL element, and we're also building out the database to kind of be, very specific, hit rates on kids out of certain high schools, how far prospects are recruited from their high school to colleges, things like that, so that it's really going to be the go-to database for fans, coaches, players. There's going to be a player aspect that's a part of it where they're able to upload their own videos and workouts and measurements and all sorts of things. So, I mean, honestly, it just is really a very premium info community that we're building, and that's what I was excited about when we had the chance to join it.
That's awesome. It's a great time to jump aboard right now as recruiting in full swing. We know there's 1 weekend left, half a week, I guess, before the signing period. I don't even know, National Signing Day, do you still call it that? I can't even remember anymore or keep up with it. But it's coming up either way, and LSU obviously in the mix trying to finish out Brian Kelly's first class here. Tell us about the timeline here over the next 6 days and what is going on. If my memory serves, you got official visits this coming weekend, then it kind of goes dead until signing day, but players can reach out. What are we looking at here over the next week?
Yeah, it's a sprint for the coaches and the players, really, to decide where they want to go to college. And LSU's got an official visitor on campus right now, Danny Lewis, the Westgate tight end, in for a midweek official visit before he heads off to Florida this weekend. And then LSU will host Harold Perkins, the 5-star linebacker, Jacoby Matthews, the 5-star safety, a 4-star wide receiver, Caleb Douglas, and then Jalen Davis Robinson, are kind of a sleeper, but whenever you run a 10-600 meter, I don't know how much you're going to say a sleeper for long, in for official visits this weekend. And then Jay Bramblett, the punter transfer, is coming in as well. And so that'll start Friday with those guys coming in, and then they'll all depart on Sunday, for the last few days where they get to decide what they want to do for their college careers. And it'll go dead on Sunday night at midnight, I believe, where they're not allowed to have any in-person contact with these players. And then it's exactly that, like you mentioned, kind of working the phone, staying in touch until Wednesday, all the way up until these decisions, trying to make those final pitches, see where those players' heads are at. And then Wednesday is kind of the big day that most everyone will announce where they're going to college. And for LSU, it's kind of teeing up for the potential that they're going to have some serious fireworks on that day.
Is Harold Perkins going to show up, if we confirm that?
Well, I do feel pretty good that he's going to show up. He's confirmed the visit. I think with Harold, and anytime you kind of go through what he's gone through, which is having to commit to Texas A&M at the Under Armour game, I think he kind of got pushed into making that commitment. It was kind of a dream for him to, make that announcement at the Under Armour game, and he probably did it a little bit earlier than he wanted to. And so from there, he's been thrown into the recruiting, cycle still. And I think you had a program like LSU, for example, Florida's another one, even Jackson State, that has kept pushing and saying, you know what, he hasn't signed, and let's keep, recruiting him. He's the number one linebacker in the country. And lo and behold, a weekish before National Signing Day, he backs off that A&M pledge. And so I think he gets a little bit of a bad rap. He's kind of a knucklehead at times with the media, but in a fun way, in a way. But he is really somebody that's worth the wait for whatever program that gets him. And I do expect him at LSU this weekend. Frank Wilson's done a really nice job recruiting him and his family, who's from the New Orleans area. And, I think his commitment and his signing is going to be the most intriguing piece of National Signing Day, without a doubt. And LSU's right in the mix of it.
Based on looking at the roster when Coach Kelly got this university, and based on the coaching staff, because there was only him on the staff, what grade would you give him on the portal and recruits and the way he's filled out his staff?
I don't want to sound like a homer, but I really do think it's an A. I think you address some needs with the offensive line. Miles Frazier and Tremont Shorts, two guys that have played a good bit of football, kind of on opposite ends of their career, right? With Tremont Shorts taking his final year at LSU, but being an FCS All-American, and then Miles Frazier with plenty of time left to play college football, but being a freshman All-American. And then you addressed linebacker Wes Weeks, who played as a freshman, has plenty of time left in his career. They've addressed the secondary very well. Joe Fouché, 1 year left. Greg Brooks, Mekhi Garner, Jerick, Bernard Converse, all guys that are going to factor into that mix next year. And then Noah Kane, who's a veteran back who kind of can step right into that Ty Davis Price role as far as being a mature veteran back to come into the mix. They added Slade Roy, the long snapper, even, at a position of need with kind of questions about, Quentin Skinner's future. And then Jay Bramblett coming in as a veteran punter, since they don't know what they have in Peyton Todd, since he hasn't really done much, sitting behind Avery Adkins. They just did a really good job addressing needs, upgrading the roster. I just think they've done a terrific job. And then as far as the recruitment, you look at where they were for some of them in the early signing period, and there were no surprises really. And now they're right in the mix again for Jacoby Matthews, which you kind of thought was going to happen, but they made up great ground with Trevante Citizen to be really in the driver's seat for that one. And now you got a shot to land Harold Perkins, and then they've evaluated well with Caleb Douglas, who's now a 4-star on 3, and then Jalen Davis Robinson, which I always say if you're going to miss, you might as well miss fast or miss big or whatever, because he can really run and you can find things to do with players like that. I just think they've done a great job and they've set themselves up really well.
You mentioned that LSU in the driver's seat for Trevante Citizen. That surprised me to hear you say that. Why do you believe that?
I just think with Frank Wilson and some of the staff that has worked Trevante Citizen throughout the coaching change, they've done a good job making sure all the questions are answered for the family. I think distance is something that's going to factor into play here. And then Trevante is somebody that's really big on relationships, and Auburn's running backs coach Cadillac Williams has really done a good job there. But Frank Wilson and even Trevante Citizen even talked with Kevin Falk a little bit still, and the pitch was the same. LSU's probably the best spot for you, and kind of getting that blessing along with how Frank Wilson has handled the recruitment. I just think they're really in a good spot to land him. And over the last couple of weeks, it to me at least, it's become apparent that they're sitting in the best spot going into National Signing Day.
Jacoby Matthews have any plans this weekend?
He's going to be in Baton Rouge, and that's a big one. And he's even starting to kind of play into the not package deal talk, but kind of package deal talk with him and Harold Perkins. There's some tweets floating around of pictures of Devin White and Jamal Adams and guys like that, and just kind of teasing the idea of two elite players joining up to play at LSU. And Jacoby Matthews and Harold Perkins are two elite players, and Jacoby Matthews is going to be on campus for LSU this weekend. And again, things are kind of trending in that direction for LSU to land him. They sit in a great spot. Texas A&M is turning up the heat late, so I think if you're worried about one school, I would say that's the school to worry about. They've held some confidence here and there throughout the recruitment, but with him, I think LSU's done a really good job, and they sit in the best spot to land him.
Billy Embody on 3 Sports, our guest here, talking a little recruiting. I'll change gears here and go to the hardwood. Will Wade. Julian Phillips announced as a McDonald's All-American. He will be a Burger Boy this year. Tell me about his game.
Super athletic. I think he's somebody that plugs and plays really well into next year's lineup. And if they get good news and they get a lot of these pieces back in the front court, that's a plus. And minutes are going to be harder to come by for sure. But he's a fit in what Will Wade wants to do. We've seen it this year with the defense. The guys are buying in, and Julian Phillips is athletic enough to go up and guard anyone, and also rebound the basketball and produce. And that's kind of the name of the game. You can kind of point to just about every class where Will Wade has kind of signed one of those combo forwards in the front court, and I think Julian Phillips is just the latest and somebody that's got a really, really bright future. You tracked his recruitment and kind of watching it. He and his family just had such a great head on their shoulders. It was kind of a guessing game for everybody. The schools didn't know going into it, and they just took a really mature approach with it. And I think that says a lot about the kid he is and the young player he's going to be for LSU next year. So I'm expecting big things from Julian Phillips.
Marvell Allen was the most recent commit to the LSU basketball program. He's currently class of 2023. Any chance he reclassifies and is on this roster next year?
I think there's a good chance. It's not something they've completely finalized, but from what I'm hearing, that's probably the route that's gonna happen. And gosh, if you add him into the mix with Brandon Murray, Eric Gaines, and those guys, I mean, you're in for it. Justice Williams, you're in for a real treat. And just seeing the type of scorer he is, and then the fact that he's adding a little bit more playmaking and facilitating to his game, a very mature kid. I asked somebody, he kind of reminded me of Cam Thomas when we talked on the phone about how he was talking about his recruitment, what he valued, things like that. And the person involved with his recruitment was saying that, he's even more mature than Cam, which everybody knows the approach that Cam took when he was at LSU and how he was all locked in all year for going to the league, and that's the type of player Marvell is. And so I've been very impressed with him, and I think he's going to fit right in if he does in fact reclassify.
Billy, tell everybody where they can find your stuff.
Yeah, you can follow it on thebengaltiger.com. We got a great promo going on, $10 for just an entire year, and you get a sweet hat too if you subscribe. So check us out.
We appreciate it, Billy.
Thanks so much for watching Hunt Hill on YouTube.
Now do us a favor. Hit the red subscribe button below and throw us a like. We'll see you next time.